All right, hello everyone. Here with yet another glove review. This one comes from Sparring Gloves. This is their Infinity Gauntlet. So here they are, the Infinity Gauntlet. So with this glove, I didn't have much expectation for this glove, and now that they've arrived, I'm actually pleasantly happy with these gloves. So all I had seen was one or two reviews online and some of their initial launch of these gloves quite some time ago. And I wasn't too impressed with them, and they just seemed big and bulky in most videos. And now that I have them and I'm wearing them, they are extremely light and very mobile. They are so mobile, in fact, that I can pick up pencils and I could actually write with them if I wanted. Like just picking up any sort of object is pretty easy with these gloves. The finger articulation, there will be no break-in time for these gloves. The thumbs are easy to move. And if you can get past the fact that this isn't the most aesthetically pleasing glove out there, and understand that everything has been designed on here for a specific function, the gloves will start to make a little bit more sense as to why they actually look like this. So every piece, the angle or the shape at which it has been cut, is for complete mobility and to keep you protected while, for instance, a finger bends. So now that I understand the gloves a little bit better than I have them, I will have to say I'm quite liking these gloves. So I think what I'll do with this video, since I can't really spar with them yet to test how they are in sparring, I'll give you a general impression and a good breakdown about how the gloves seem to be put together. All right, so as I mentioned, everything on this glove seems to be functional. Everything is in a place for a specific reason. There's the blade stop right here, which is this thick canvas-like material which will not allow any blades to go in through your knuckle joints. Plus there's plastic under here as well, so it'll keep you protected. Every little piece has been thought out in shape and design in order to keep the side of your finger, for instance, protected here. They cut this in this odd shape. Same with the thumb here. It's got this nice round shape which goes over top of the thumb knuckle, and underneath that there's also a plate as well. So that should help with blows coming down. The plastic itself is very, very thick on these gloves, which I'll get into in a moment. But the one thing that stands out with these gloves right away is all of the rivets. A lot of people may not like that. Honestly, you could probably just take a black marker and make them black and they won't stick out as much. But the good thing about these rivets is Sparring Glove used rivets that have holes in them that hex keys can be used. So you can take most of these rivets on here in and out to replace them and to help replace the inner glove or whatever it may be, and then put them back. Or if one gets damaged, you can just replace it quite easily. Because let's face it, most people don't have rivet guns and they don't really know how to use them properly, and they can be awkward. Especially if you're not manufacturing the glove right from the beginning. Trying to replace a rivet in the middle of a glove can be a little bit of an awkward thing to do. So I think this is a really clever design. And can only be beneficial outside of how it makes the glove look. This version of the Infinity Glove I ordered here is the hourglass design, and I've already tested this with my coat, and mobility is great. It has two holes here, which there's a tie for, if you do need to tighten up the cuff a little bit. But overall, this will work with any sort of coat that's got a big forearm, or if you add forearm guards to your coat. So I think this is the second smallest or most compact set of gloves I own. This glove is a really good glove to compare to the Armadillo glove, which is no longer in production, but this is the smallest, most compact glove I own. But out of the gate, it has a lot of flaws. Certain things you just got to put up with. For instance, the fingers had too many scales. They're too thin of plastic. They're tied together, which means your fingers, you're always fighting the elasticity of the threading. And the inner glove was only ever attached on the top on the inside by Velcro. And the problem with that was the glove would come in and out, especially when your hands got sweaty, and it was very difficult to put back in, particularly the fingers. You had to thread them through these 3 elastic loops, which were very tight. And once again, when your glove is sweaty and you're fighting this elastic, you needed time to do. So if you're in a tournament or whatnot, I just wouldn't take the glove off because I wouldn't know if I could get it back on in time. This, on the other hand, is constructed much better. The glove itself, I'll splice in some footage to try to show some of these details to you. The glove itself is, on the fingertip, it's actually attached to this yellow foam piece, so it can't be pulled out. And then throughout the glove itself, the inner glove is attached by rivets. So on the cuff, it's attached by rivets. I think some parts of the fingers here might be, but I can't really tell. And it seems to be attached to this foam, which is thicker than the Armadillo's was, so it'll help with shock as well as an attachment point. So taking these gloves on and off actually is not a problem at all. You can pretty much do that all day without worrying about it. So right away, mobility wise, these gloves are really good. Plus, just taking your hands in and out, the gloves are really good. They've only put 2 straps right there on either side, and there's no other straps that your fingers need to go through. So the Armadillos, what would also get annoying is, particularly when you'd start fighting and you start getting a lot of blood running through your hands, the glove and the elastics on the fingers would sometimes start slipping around and getting into your joints and then cutting off circulation in the fingers. For me, it was just a little bit, but I'd always end up having to adjust my finger a little bit and get blood flow going a little bit. So it wasn't the greatest of designs. This, on the other hand, isn't aesthetically pleasing as that glove, but the functional design of it just makes much more sense. The mobility of everything, like just the ability to pick up small objects and move them around in your fingers is, I haven't really had a 5-finger glove where you can do that. So I give this glove for mobility one of the higher ranks. I don't rank gloves, but if I did, I'd give it one of the higher ranks I've ever given a glove. So with that being said, how does this compare to sort of other gloves out there for protection? I can't really say yet because I need to get these fighting, but it is very, very thick plastic compared to the Armadillos, and the plastic is comparable in thickness to a heavier glove like this. Now we know this glove, which is the superior fencing version of a heavy clamshell glove, and very similar to the Spez Heavy. We know these are sort of like ultimate protection, but they don't give you any sort of finger mobility, whereas these do. And I'll start giving you some examples with some weapons now of just how good that mobility actually is. So first off, this rapier has a very small guard, meaning it barely fits your hand in there. So in theory, a glove of this size, I shouldn't be able to get it in there. But with a little bit of adjustment, I'm now actually completely comfortably holding this glove. I mean this sword. So you would never use this glove with this weapon. Let's mention that right away. But this is an example of how I can actually get this glove, and even with this Pappenheimer style guard here, I can still get the glove in, and I have complete full functionality of the finger on the inside as well, which you obviously won't be able to see. So that actually is very surprising, because if you are using a weapon that does have a guard like this that is meant for sparring and practice, usually they design much bigger space so you can get gloves in. But this is just an example of even a small little space like that, no problem for this glove. That was very surprising. Oh, even my saber here, which has it's a little bit, it bows a little bit more other than that guard, but it's actually quite narrow because you don't get the inside that was guarded by the Pappenheimer guard there in order to get your hand in. But yet with this one, with a little bit of finagling, it takes a little bit. But there we go. I'm in there and full mobility. I am losing, because of the thumb, I'm losing a little bit of lead finger mobility. It's not quite on the handle. So once again, you wouldn't be using this glove with this saber, but it's just an example of I can actually hold on to this saber and, you know, have zero mobility problems. So once again, quite surprising. Even for more of a longsword versus a fetter, so a shorter weapon with a shorter handle, that's where these gloves really come in handy, because I have extreme problems using these gloves with this sword. They, my hands don't fit on the handle. I'm kind of just hanging on to the pommel, just kind of by the fingertips. And it also makes doing winding and a bunch of stuff a little bit awkward. This, on the other hand, I still have space. There's absolutely no restrictions with this weapon. So, and then just if we just show a standard fetter with a much longer handle, obviously there is no issue and you have tons of space. So these gloves seem to have the capability to be used for more things other than just longsword if you needed to. Let's face it, most of the time if you're using something that has hand guards, you're normally just using normal gloves at that point, because the whole function of the guard is to protect your hand. But having the option to wear these gloves and swap to a one-handed weapon and then swap back to your longsword and not actually have to take the gloves off, that is super cool. So overall, having inspected these gloves, I haven't found too many gaps and places where they're exposed. There's one right there, which you should be able to see the red, that when you're holding a weapon is slightly exposed. Now, I've never been hit there, nor have I been thrust there, and it's very small, so I think the plastic, the way it kind of overlaps, is going to stop most things from being able to get through. But that is really the only area I found where I'm actually exposed. Everything else, because of the cleverness of the cutouts, covers all of those little bits that certain gloves leave exposed. And that includes this glove here leaves the side of the fingertips exposed sometime and the side of the hand over here exposed a little bit. Everything over here is generally covered. And it even does here have a little bit of exposure in the same spot that this glove has. But generally, I haven't been able to find too many areas that worry me about the glove yet without actually having sparred. All right, so long swords, fetters. So as I've mentioned in a lot of my videos, I prefer 5-finger gloves because I like holding swords in a pistol grip, allowing myself to manipulate the handle with all of my fingers. It just helps me feel other people's swords better, fine swords, the mobility of just doing certain transitions and doing cavizionis and spinning around another person's sword. Just having your finger out front in order to lead your weapon is just something I find these gloves a little too restrictive for. But yet, like I've mentioned before, tons of people use these gloves. So it's just a personal preference. This glove is awesome for that. I can hold the glove even between my two fingertips here with absolutely no restriction. Now, I don't do too much thumb work. My thumb, if I do, is on the handle of the sword, which means it doesn't really get hit. A lot of the techniques I do that kind of emulate German style, my thumb is usually down here. I usually don't put my thumb up this high on the weapon. If I am manipulating with my thumb, it's down lower. But point is, all of the fingers, extremely mobile. I can hold the sword in any way I want. And I think it's really important to mention that I never feel like I'm fighting these gloves anywhere. I'm never fighting to grip. I'm never fighting to close them. I'm never fighting to open them. When I'm holding this, in all honesty, it feels very similar to having a leather glove on, which is obviously ideal for mobility. I don't really notice the fingers, that like this thick plastic, I don't really notice them getting in the way. They don't. I thought because of how thick these are and how deep they are, that they would get in the way of each other. Because it happened quite often on the armadillo gauntlets, they twist around and get in each other's way. And I think that is been fixed, and that's due to the fact that there's only one big finger piece here and then your upper finger protection. And the way they've bent it allows your finger to grasp things and your knuckle to basically go up into that bend in this design, which then, when you grip something, keeps your finger protected, but allows your finger to bend in that plastic. So once again, aesthetically, maybe not the most pleasing fingers, but functionally, very good design. I'm pretty confident the thickness in the top of these gloves is going to protect anything that comes down on them. I can't feel anything at all with these gloves. So general hits, I think these gloves are thick enough and strong enough. Anything else, we'll have to wait for sparring to see if there's any holes, any spots that could be improved on the glove. All right, sorry if I got a little bit rambly there towards the end of that video, but I'm generally pretty excited about these gloves. These will probably become my main glove until the Pro Gauntlet comes out and I can test those. And honestly, the Pro Gauntlet's got to be really good now. I mean, it looks good from its design, but because this is surprisingly a very good glove. So good, in fact, and so mobile and so easy to get your hand in and out that I may use these when I'm drilling. So normally I use heavy gloves when I'm sparring, and that's it. When I'm drilling slow to medium speeds, I wear leather gloves or slightly heavier leather gloves than these. These are so easy to take on and off, and they're so mobile that I might start drilling with these. I'll start testing out at home with some of my flow drills, but I think that's one of the biggest takeaways from this glove is how surprised I am at how easy these are going to be to use. Protection-wise, we can't judge them just yet. So if you're looking for a product out there that is mobile, 5-fingered, right now, until there's another product out, this might be the better one to go with out there. And out of the box, without doing any sparring testing, out of the box, I like this glove. So thanks for watching. Have a good day or evening wherever you are, and look forward to a follow-up review of these.